Right, so picture this. You've spent the better part of a year grafting away on a show that millions of people are absolutely mad about. You make a few offhand comments online, someone takes them wildly out of context, and suddenly the whole thing's kicked off into a proper internet storm. That's more or less what happened to Gooseworx, the creator behind the amazing Digital Circus. And since the story first broke, we've had responses from Glitch Productions, a load of voice actors, and some fairly well-known faces from the indie animation world. So there's quite a bit to get through. Before we dive in, and I can't stress this enough, please don't go harassing anyone mentioned in this video. That's the last thing anyone needs. All right, let's crack on. For anyone who's just stumbled onto this, here's the short version of what went on. Gooseworx had been fairly active across social media. Live streams, Reddit, all of that. At some point, she mentioned that both Pomni and Jax are lead characters in the show, which is, completely unremarkable information. Except certain corners of the internet decided it wasn't. A chunk of the fandom had already made up their minds that Pomni was the main character, end of story, and that Jax was basically just there for the crake. So when Goose's Reddit comments got picked up on Twitter, people ran with them, twisting them into this narrative that the show was sidelining other characters. The backlash came pretty quickly. Goose ended up deleting her Reddit account and posted an apology on Blue Sky saying she hadn't meant to cause any upset. But that wasn't the end of it. Since then, Goose has posted a fair bit more, and I think it's worth going through what she actually said, rather than letting it get mangled through the grapevine, which, funnily enough, is exactly what kicked this whole thing off to begin with. She reposted her apology over on Twitter and added a follow-up to it. The first post is fairly straightforward. She reckons she hasn't been handling social media all that professionally lately and wants to step back and have a proper think about things. Fair enough, honestly. Her second reply is the more interesting one. She makes it dead clear that this was never about people criticizing the show. She's not bothered by that. Fans are completely entitled to pick the writing apart, question character decisions, whatever they like. What actually got to her was everything piling up at once. Serious burnout, the pressure of delivering a finale that lives up to expectations, and a load of built-up stress that had nowhere to go. Eventually, something snapped, and to her credit, she owns that entirely rather than pointing fingers elsewhere. That kind of honesty is genuinely refreshing, especially when you're being dragged online. Within the last day or so, Glitch Productions put out an official statement, and it's actually quite good. It doesn't read like something a PR department knocked together at 11:30 at night, which was a pleasant surprise. They opened by acknowledging that the online noise around all of this has been exhausting, and that they get it. But rather than dwelling on the drama, they shifted the focus to what the fandom genuinely looks like from where they're standing. The fan artists putting real effort into every piece. The cosplayers bringing these characters to life. The people turning up to discussions with actual thoughtfulness. That's the version of this community they see, not the angry mob that's been dominating the headlines. They also gave a specific mention to Goose and said that the support she's received from fans during all of this has meant the world to her. And they wrapped it up by reminding everyone that what this community has built, the friendships, the art, the ongoing chats, is real and worth holding on to. It's brief, it's warm, and it doesn't feel corporate in the slightest. Glitch clearly aren't just a studio that chucks content out and moves on. They seem genuinely fussed about the people making these shows and the people watching them. Beyond Glitch, a fair few people from the indie animation world or connected to the show have had their say, and some of these takes are well worth going through. Tomska had a lot of sympathy for Goose's situation, pointing out that the human brain really isn't built to cope with the kind of constant scrutiny that social media throws at you. That's not letting anyone off the hook. It's just a fact. The sheer volume of opinion coming at you from all directions is something our psychology genuinely wasn't designed for. Michael Kovacs made a point that tends to get lost in these moments. The vast majority of any fandom is perfectly decent. It's a small, loud, toxic subset that makes the whole thing look rotten and gives everyone else a bad name. He was pushing for a bit of perspective before people write the entire community off. Ashley Nichols had a particularly sharp take. She mentioned that she'd been harassed herself for saying that what Jax did in episode 7 was a bit rubbish, which, for the record, is an opinion about a fictional rabbit. The fact that the actual creator of the show then copped the same treatment for saying her own characters are the main characters is, when you think about it, properly absurd. Alex Rochon, and I want to spend a bit more time here because I think he really hit the nail on the head, made a couple of posts that get to the root of what's actually going on. First, he talked about why he's been giving Twitter a wide berth lately. It's just draining, being constantly plugged into that much noise. But his second post is the one that stayed with me. He talked about how theory culture has started doing real damage to fandoms. Here's the thing with animated shows specifically. Production takes ages. We're talking months between episodes, sometimes longer. All that waiting time turns into a pressure cooker for fan theories. People construct these elaborate headcanons, get genuinely emotionally invested in where they think the story's heading, and then when the actual episode drops and goes somewhere completely different, even if it's a better somewhere, people feel done over. Not by the story, by the gap between what they imagined and what they got. Episode 7 is a brilliant example of this. Alex pointed out that it was a cracking episode that went in an unexpected direction, but because it didn't match what the fandom had cooked up in their heads, it got backlash. And a lot of younger viewers in the fandom missed the thematic depth of it entirely, which is a shame. VivziePop also weighed in, and her point is one I think creators of all sizes need to hear. She drew a line between genuine criticism, which is healthy and totally valid, and cruelty that just uses the word criticism as cover. Saying a show has pacing issues is criticism. Sending abuse to a creator for being enthusiastic about her own characters is cruelty dressed up in a waistcoat. Right, so where do I actually come down on all of this? Starting with Goose. I don't reckon she needed to apologize for anything she actually said in the first place. Her livestream comments were casual and completely inoffensive. Her Reddit posts weren't having a go at anyone. She was just talking about her own show. The fact that she apologized anyway says more about how overwhelming the whole situation became than about anything she did wrong. That said, I understand why she did it. Sometimes putting your hands up, even when you don't strictly need to, is just the cleanest way to draw a line under something and move on. And her follow-up, making clear she's got no issue with genuine criticism, was an important thing to put out there, even if most people already knew that. What really struck me, though, was the mention of the finale. If you didn't already know, Goose is the sole writer on the amazing Digital Circus. There's no writer's room, no one to bounce ideas off of or share the load with, just her, and the weight of an enormous, devoted fan base expecting an ending that does justice to everything the show's built up. If the finale doesn't land, there's nobody else in the firing line. That's a massive amount of pressure on one person, and it makes everything that's happened a lot more understandable when you think about it properly. Glitch's statement did exactly what it needed to. It acknowledged things, celebrated the good parts of the community, made clear that Goose has their full support, and wrapped it all up with warmth rather than damage limitation. It doesn't feel like something written to protect a brand. It feels like it was written by people who actually care. And on the theory culture point, Alex Rochon's got it right. And I think this goes well beyond just this fandom. We're in this strange era where speculation and analysis have become almost as much a part of the fan experience as the show itself, which isn't a bad thing on its own. Theories are a laugh. Picking apart storytelling is genuinely fun. But when the theory starts mattering more than the actual story being told, when people start treating their headcanon like a promise the creator made and then broke, that's when it all goes a bit sour. The amazing Digital Circus, for all the noise around it, is genuinely one of the most impressive things to come out of indie animation in years. The IMDb ratings have been going up as the show goes on. That almost never happens. It means the storytelling is improving, not declining. The people engaging with it as an actual story seem to recognize that. It's just a shame that the loudest voices in the room rarely are. So, where does everything stand? I think this is more or less done and dusted. Goose has said what she needed to say, and is taking some well-earned time away. Glitch has put a thoughtful full stop on the whole thing. The voice actors and the broader animation community have shown up in a way that I hope reminds Goose she's well supported. If anything decent comes out of all this, I hope it's a bit more appreciation for the sheer amount of work that goes into a show like this, and maybe a touch more thought before the next round of online discourse spirals completely out of hand. We've apparently got a new episode dropping sometime in March, so let's just look forward to that, shall we? If you've got thoughts on any of this, Goose's response, the glitch statement, the whole theory culture conversation. Stick them in the comments below. I do actually read them, genuinely. And if this sort of breakdown is your thing and you're not already subscribed, it'd mean a lot. Takes 2 seconds, and it does actually help the channel. Cheers for watching. See you in the next one.